Hey guys, it's September 1st, which means it's back to school time. I no longer have any ties to school, unless you count my neighbor, who is a teacher. But after many years of first days of school, September will always remind me of new classes, morning announcements, and school events. One of my favorite back to school events was the bake sale. I always aim to find a really great recipe that could feed an army, but also wouldn't send a student into anaphylactic shock. Peanut allergies are fierce. So this month I thought I would do some back to school themed content featuring recipes that will be good for bake sales, along with some baking 101 style videos. My first bake sale recipe was actually featured in one of the cookbooks that I mentioned in my How to Find the Best Recipes video, which I will link in the cards above. This recipe is for Creamy Frosted Brownies, and it's been loved by everyone who's tried it, let me just say. And because it's so quick to make, it's easily one of my most baked recipes. So I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and I'm just going to grease and line this brownie pan right here. Set that aside because we don't need it for now. Next, I'm just going to take a small bowl and I'm going to add the flour, the cocoa, and the salt. I'm going to have an ingredients list running on this side of the screen, but I won't be mentioning the measurements or anything while I'm talking, just because this is going to be more of a chatty video and not like a do this many of this. I'm going to give these a whisk, and we're just going to whisk until everything is well blended. Like so. Set that aside. Again, we do not need it for a little while. Now it's time to grab the big mixing bowl. I will add the melted butter, sugar, and the vanilla. If you don't have butter, you can use vegetable oil, but butter will produce better results. And I'm not saying that in a pretentious connoisseur, I can taste notes in the air surrounding the brownie kind of way. I encourage you to bake these brownies using both vegetable oil and butter to see which one you like better. And I promise you'll like the butter one better. Now we're going to add our eggs. Fail. It's okay. Saved. Saved by the egg itself. That was better. And we will beat those in. All right, so our wet ingredients are well mixed. Now it's time to add the dry. So we're just going to slowly add. You can do this in 2 or 3 different parts. And just fold the butter mixture over the flour mixture. So there are a few things I look for in a great brownie. I want them to be soft and slightly gooey, even on the edges. So I don't really want a crispy edge. I also want them to be moist so that they don't dry out, should I choose not to eat them all in one sitting. These brownies meet both of those requirements. Plus, the frosting recipe that I'm about to show you is so good and so easy to make. Typically, I prefer my brownies without nuts, so I'd stop here. But if you like the added crunch, then you can add 1 cup of chopped nuts of your choosing. Ooh, yummy. Always make sure that you save enough in the bowl so that you can have a little snack while you're waiting for your brownies to bake. So just spread it evenly into your pan. And we're going to bake these for 20 minutes. You'll know when your brownies are done when the edges start to pull away from the sides of the pan. And you'll also want to insert a toothpick into the middle. If the batter is still gooey, then they have to be baked for a little bit longer, but a little bit of gooey chocolate is just fine. So while we wait for the brownies to bake, let me show you how to make this really easy, delicious frosting that just pairs so well with this. Once again, the frosting is also from the Hershey's Chocolate Treasury. So you can use a hand mixer or a standing mixer for this, but you can also use a whisk or a fork, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the butter, which is at room temperature, pretty gooey, and the cocoa powder, and the honey, and the vanilla, and I'm going to mix it all together. You can use margarine instead of butter and corn syrup instead of honey, but I recommend going with the real deal. Now I'm going to add the powdered sugar and the milk. The recipe calls for regular milk, but I had chocolate in my fridge, so I'm going to add that because it's just so much tastier. You may need a little bit more milk, just depending on how creamy you want your frosting to be. it's up to you. But if you ever add too much milk, you can add a little bit more confectioner's sugar, and if you add a little too much confectioner's sugar, you can always add a little bit more milk. They work hand in hand. So you just want to mix this all together until a frosting is formed. I'm gonna add a little bit more milk because it's a little bit too thick. I love this recipe because it makes just enough frosting for the brownies. Maybe with a little bit left over for you to eat with a spoon. And here's what it looks like. Super delicious. I won't do it. Okay, so the brownies are out of the oven. They're looking very good. What I like to do is spread the frosting over top of the brownies as soon as they're out of the oven, because then when the frosting melts, it smooths itself over the brownies so that you have a nice even layer. And then you can just throw it in the fridge to set completely. The brownies will also cool faster that way, so that you can eat them a lot sooner. Here's the finished product. Not only will this batch of brownies feed up to 16 people, they're also the ultimate indulgence when you're with your friends, caught up in a game of heads up that you just can't quit. So gooey. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Give it a thumbs up if you'll be making this recipe for a school bake sale. The frosting is literally dripping down my hand. Can't wait to eat it! And leave a comment letting me know if you prefer your brownies smooth or with a little bit of crunch. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos every Thursday, and have a great day. Bye. Here's the finished product.